Oh, I'm going to forget. I need a photograph before we start. I always ask for a photograph. So I need smiling, happy, waving faces, please. That's it, that's it. Hands up, everyone hands up. And I'll just get you lot there. Perfect, excellent, thank you very much. You discover I like playing silly games. I've been speaking for so long, it's nice that I get something out of this and hopefully not just yourselves. Oh, could someone pass me my drink, please? I'm probably going to need my drink. Thank you very much. Right, so who am I? Thank you very much. I'm Ian Ozsvald. I'm an interim, I call myself an interim chief data scientist. I don't like sticking around for too many years. I like doing things, building up a team. I do strategic work, so I go into a team where there's some mismatch between what the team are doing and what management wants. They're not delivering the value that's been expected. Often I find the managers have asked the wrong questions. The team said, that sounds hard, I'd love to do it. And then there's not quite the right output coming out. And I go in and try to reorient that kind of value. And then make things work. And I've had a couple of $1 million successes, and it's great. And at this end of my career, I think, great, I kind of know what I'm doing, and I've been doing it for quite a while, like 25 years. And so I've finally figured some of these things out. And in the last couple of years, like many of us, I'm trying to figure out where LLMs fit into this weird and wacky journey. I've gone from just saying, they're rubbish, they're really, really bad, to now saying, well, they can't solve everything. AGI is not coming tomorrow, but they're doing really interesting things. I just wish I understood how they worked and how to make them work better. I'm also an author of High Performance Python. Did anyone in the room get one of the books that I signed earlier on? Yeah, one, two? No, you didn't get one, sorry. So yeah, I had some books to give away from O'Reilly. Only got published last week, so the first time I got to see the third edition of my book was the ones they delivered here, so it's really nice. Blimey, if you want to know about writing a book, you can come and ask me. I've done it 3 times. I don't really recommend it. It's hard work. So I'm a co-founder here of PyData London. Normally I give a little song and dance about this, but I've decided today to physically embody a bit of history. 11 years ago, I was out in California at the PyData out there, where I met Emlyn and Cecilia. Cecilia's not here, she dropped out to have a family some years in. But we've carried on, we've persisted, and we had a really good conversation, and we decided the PyData was lovely, we want more PyData, but we don't want to have to fly to California for it, so maybe we should have one in London, and that was the founding point of PyData London in 2014, right, because we're at 11 years now. You can't see it, but this t-shirt says 2013. This is the t-shirt that I was wearing when I met Emlyn. It's been washed in the meantime. And so this t-shirt, in part, is responsible for why you are all here right now. And I found this in the bottom of my cupboard last week, and I thought, hey, that'll be fun. Currently I'm working with Lantern in the private equity world. I talk about how I like talking now about how to make projects work successfully. I gave this talk a couple of years ago, 2022, building successful data science projects. I decided to own up to all of the times that my projects have failed and talk about it, because almost all of us do not like talking about the failures in our career. And so I outlined a whole set of projects. They're up on the speaker deck. The slides for this have been shared already in the Slack, so you can go and hit the profile up. There's a whole bunch of mistaken projects that went the wrong way and became glorious failures, and some successes, but many failures in there. And my heart was on the line talking about this. And afterwards, I had a huge gaggle of people. It was lovely. There was lots of shared, oh my God, my projects go wrong too. And then one person just said, Ian, you've had so many failures. And I was like, well, I've done it for 25 years. You know, turns out if you try edgy things, in the end, some of them are going to go wrong. Quite a lot went wrong, actually. And then later in the year, I tried to give a more positive spin with some patterns around making things work in a successful fashion. Here at PyData and at PyData Global and other events, I've run 9 Leaders at PyData sessions where we do kind of roundtable discussions to talk about leadership, because there aren't that many, relative to the number of data scientists, there aren't that many leaders, and leadership in data science, certainly in the last 5 to even now, there aren't that many of us who have got lots of years of experience in the weird and wacky ways that things go wrong. And it's nice to talk about it. And this got me to a point a couple of years ago of saying, I really wish I had a community around me where I could talk about all the things that I don't understand. Because just because I'm good at numbers doesn't mean that I'm very good at the people. And the whole people thing is a big deal. So I started a private leadership group called Rebel AI, and I'm going to share some of the lessons from those discussions here. brief overview. We're going to talk about, so in my leadership group, we talk every month about something that a member is facing, an opportunity or a challenge. And so these stories all come from there. The first 90 days for members going to quitting one organisation, joining another one. What does their first 3 months look like as a leader? Growing the team, you're in there, things are going well, I need to grow the team. Well, do you? And then how do you? Picking valuable projects. Don't pick the projects that are stinkers. I've got quite a lot of experience in that, and I've learned how to value projects. Use of Gen AI, well, sometimes that's a really good idea, sometimes it's not such a good idea. How do we make a sensible judgment there? And dealing with overload, just what does it mean when we're squashed with so many things, shrinking teams, large expectations, and how do we do something sensible about it? Talking of leadership events here at the conference, tomorrow morning at 11:45 I'll run another Leaders PyData event. It's got a new format to it, a far more discursive format. We'll do roundtables with everyone talking all at the same time. I think it'll be a lot of fun. You're all welcome to attend. It'll be in the library downstairs just before lunch. And then conversation can carry on with the new people that you have met during the lunch afterwards. And later tomorrow afternoon, Matt Upson, Matt, are you in the room? There he is there. Is talking on Matt's take on leadership as well. So if you're interested in this domain, and there's a whole lot of you in the room, then you probably want to go along to Matt's talk as well. Right. Stooges. I've handed out stickers. Just hold the stickers up for a moment. They're real. So I will ask you, if you wish, I'll tell you why, and then I'm going to ask you to pass them around. You're in a room full of people who care about leadership. You can listen to me talk and it's one to many, but maybe that doesn't address the questions. If you talk to other people who are in the room, you will probably find other leaders, some at the same journey stage as you are at if you talk to several people. How would you find them when you're out in the pub later and there's 500 people? I haven't got a green sticker myself, I'm an idiot. Can I please have a green sticker? You're going to look around at people who are wearing a green sticker and you're going to go, oh, you know what? They were in Ian's talk, they must care about leadership, so I'll go and have a chat with them. And you even get a conversation started. You can walk up and just say, I'm wearing that sticker that Ian suggested we wear. What did you think of his talk? And I won't hear it. You can say whatever you want. And you can say, so what's your interest in leadership? Because you all must be interested in leadership if you're in this room. So you get an easy conversation starter. So Stooges, please, for anyone who wishes to partake in the silliness, put on a sticker and pass it around. There's a whole reel up here. Come and get one later if you don't get one now. And then you'll be able to self-identify each other. If you come to the leadership workshop in the morning, there's a different sticker, so you can collect both of them. And then you'll be obviously up for the leadership conversation. So your first 90 days. You've either taken on a leadership role and you've joined a new org, or you're quitting one, you're going to another one. You want to do well, you want to impress in some form. Oh yeah, stickers, wear with pride. You want to do well, so what does it involve? So we had a really good, long, deep conversation about this in the group. One of the questions was, well, how much code does one have to do as a leader going into a new team? How does one impress credentials? How deep do you go? Getting on board with the new projects, showing what's working, what isn't working, delivering value quickly. And the conversation quickly came around to, well, look, it's not really about churning out the code quickly. It's all about relationships and figuring out your new place in that leadership chain, somewhere in that hierarchy. So a lot of it comes down to building relationships. And I've learned this, I've kind of gone the hard way around this. I don't know if any of you will self-identify with this, but you're given a task and you think that task's a bit bonkers, but technically it sounds amazing, so I'm going to work on that. And you forget about all the wider ecosystem of people, moving parts, whether people are resistant or accepting of what change might occur out of this. You just care about the techie bit. And it turns out that's not a route to happy, successful change in an organization. And I failed there a lot. So building relationships is one of your early keys. During that discussion, a point was made that you have a superpower as a new hire in the room. Ryan, it might have been you who made that point, I can't remember. You're in this organization. Everyone has some expectation of you, but they know that you're new. So you can be ignorant. I've been in private equity for the last year, and I could walk around and say, I haven't got a clue about this private equity thing. I'm not a general partner. I do not have $1 billion behind me. What do these numbers mean? Why are we doing it? What do these metrics mean? What's going on? And you can be ignorant, and you should wear that ignorance with pride and walk around and say, right, I don't know, tell me. Because everyone loves to talk. So you get to build good relationships by hearing other people's domain knowledge and what they think is important, and they're very happy to talk to you at that point. You can even say, what's not working? What's working well, what's not working? Where are your fears? How could I help you perhaps in the future? And people will generally be quite revealing at that point. And I realized I was 10 months into my organization at that time, and there was a bunch of questions I'd kind of avoided asking because after only 25 years experience and a bit of imposter syndrome, I was still scared of saying, I don't know. And I thought, oh, this is ridiculous. So I just walked around everywhere again and said, right, I just don't know. I've been here for 10 months. I should have absorbed this by now. It's not obvious. What does all of this stuff mean? And it turns out a lot of other people didn't know either. And so it wasn't being talked about. So we got to flush out a bunch more organizational ignorance and make it more visible. So my advice would be set up calls, talk human to human, preferably in person, try and meet up physically, not just remotely, and see what they care about. See where their concerns are, but see what they care about. The images in the top right corner, they're a little bit of a gimmick. I went to Google Gemini and asked it to generate an image given the text on the slide. It's partly a gimmick, partly a record for me. When I did this last at Christmas, you would still get lots of images being generated with 6 fingers and sort of 2 noses. Now the people are all pretty good. The images are a bit boring, generic. It's an interesting bit of implicit bias, I think, that occurs later on. But they're kind of, well, they're good now, which is weird. And so I've got a nice timeline of these images getting better on my slides. Growing the team. Does your team need to grow? That feels like a good question to ask. So sometimes we get offered, here's a project, there's budget in front of us. You can grow the team, you want to double whatever, add a couple of extra headcount. Of course, that brings in some organizational complexity, but we get more headcount. More headcount is good, particularly in large organizations. We guarantee a job function with that. Maybe it's not what we actually need. And I've stepped back with my team recently asking myself, well, I've got more functions, I've got more things to do, I've got more prototypes to build, and I've got a couple of projects that we're supporting at the moment. We're only a small team. How do I deal with this without just making my cognitive load heavier? And I sat back and thought, there's a whole bunch of this business as usual work that we're kind of used to doing. I've just grown into it, learning about the failures in my particular project, the way that things in this machine learned and LLM system go wrong, and then tracking it assiduously as a leader, eyes all over it. I'm kind of channeling Emily's talk from earlier on LLM testing and some of the notes that Leanne made in her keynote this morning. I'm really paying attention to it, but do I need to, as head of data science? Do I need to be doing this once I've set that framework up? And so I distributed that work to other people in the organization, freeing up me and my team members to carry on work without adding headcount, but without adding organizational complexity. So sometimes you don't need to go and add extra complexity, and you can just change how you set your team up and your workflow. Something else that comes up in discussion is a discussion around North Star. Where are we heading as people, and where is the team heading? Are we asking the team, where do you want to develop to? Are we developing our team members? Happy team members stick around, they don't tend to quit. Unhappy team members who can see the writing on the wall will go elsewhere, leading to churn. So do you discuss the North Star for the team, for the group's development, and your own personal development? And it's something that's been reflected on in the group in discussion, is that by having our meetings, we get a chance to stop and lift our heads up from the day-to-day, looking down at, I've just delivered this, I've got the next thing and the next thing. We get to look up and think for a moment, what am I doing? Where am I going? Where am I going to be in a year of just looking at the ground and going through each of these next projects one at a time? And it's something that for a lot of years, certainly when I had my child, and then the first couple of years with sleep deprivation, like wonderful sleep deprivation, I just found 6 months, a year, 2 years go past without ever questioning, am I doing the right thing with my time, or is time just slipping past quickly? So I think stepping back and talking about North Star and trying to look into that with the team is a really nice idea. And in another discussion in the group, one of the members said, I've got 15 people underneath me. I'm the only manager. They're all really good ICs, developers, product owners, but no one wants to manage. I'm the only manager there. How on earth am I going to deal with growing and finding the right kind of manager? And one of the first bits of feedback was, have you asked your team if any of them want to be managers? Because maybe there's some growth in the team, back to that North Star point. And he went back and had a conversation. It turned out a couple of members did want to be managers, and so they got to reorganize the team structure and then develop some of the members who wanted to go from being IC to being managers without having to hire extra headcount in, and instead made everything far more effective. So again, just those conversations are really important. Do you have a rubric for debiased hiring? And that was something that came up in another conversation. How do we hire effectively? How do we make sure that we've got a good hiring process? There was no Simple answer in the discussion of sort of 13 people over an hour. There was no clear answer as to what the one right hiring process is. There are a number of different hiring approaches, but a debiased, consistent hiring process feels like a good idea. And I adopted that as one of my take-homes. And so I've got a nice a rubric, so just a document with a set of standard questions and some identification as to how I score these things. So regardless of how tired, overloaded, distracted, or whatever I might be, hopefully I'm consistent during that interview process. One of the members shared that in their organisation, they don't really like that. It's really hard to evaluate someone. They just pay people to come on site for a day and work with them, and they figure out in the space of that day, do they all like working together, which is a very unusual hiring practice, but a very interesting one, a very quick and easy way to figure out, do I get on with this person? Do they seem to fit in here? And these are things that we could discuss in the workshop before lunch tomorrow. Picking valuable projects. So to me, for years, this was one of the biggest things that I cared about, because by going into teams where things weren't working, I could often see things falling apart, and it wasn't obvious how to put things back together unless you go right the way back to the beginning and say, right, why have things fallen apart? Why are we doing this project? What does this project actually mean? There was a time when vanity projects seemed to be a big deal. That seems to be much less of a thing now. Right now, of course, with the LLM wave, slam Gen AI into everything. It's not necessarily a good choice. It might not be a bad choice. Maybe it's an interesting exploration of the space of feasible projects. It doesn't mean they're going to be valuable. And to Adam's point, I mean, the idea that you start a project and by the time you're getting to deployment, you've realized the model you've been using and testing against is going to be deprecated, and then you're busted. I mean, that's kind of terrifying. So yeah, where's the longevity in the models around that? But that's a different value question. The fraud example here with one of my strategic engagements in an insurance firm, we had a big discussion around all of the possible different fraud projects we could work on. And the team, a tech team, a data science team who didn't understand the wider business, started talking about all of these different projects, and some of them looking for pixel manipulation on invoices to falsify invoices, or some kind of collusion amongst various bad actors. And I thought, these all sound really, really interesting, but they need lots of data and a deep understanding of the business domain. Do we have that data? Well, we don't really. How many examples do we have? Maybe a couple, a handful, maybe not many at all. Okay, right, so these other project ideas that we got, do we have examples? Well, some of them, there are people who use SQL and then they find fraud in the organization, and they find hundreds of thousands of cases every year. But it's SQL, it's a bit boring really. It's 100,000 cases. And also it's worth a fraction of a million. So how about we start with that and we get some domain experience and then we build up. And so I sent the team out to go and meet other members in the organization and think about what fraud means. And they came back with a better appreciation of where the value was in that organization. Then we literally flipped the project list around. So the coolest projects dropped to the bottom with no examples, and the mundane projects worth a lot of money popped to the top. And suddenly we started developing value to the organization, which gained a lot of political power. And all of a sudden, the team started reporting, finding big amounts of money, to the point that at one point, the central fraud team said, we don't want to work with you anymore. I said, crikey, why is that? You've given us too much fraud. We can't take it anymore. We've become the bottleneck. So we were generating so much, the internal fraud team were bottlenecks dealing with it. That was a wonderful result, and then now that team reports to the top level in that organization, all just by turning that conversation around. You need to have a route to successful change if you haven't thought about a deployment option. So you've got everything kind of lined up, and then with a different insurance case, you discover the only route to deploying your random forest model is by writing the rules by hand in SQL and squashing it into a database. It's not a really good deployment pipeline. There's no way to evaluate that. There's no way to support that. It's just a bad thing. Or maybe you just can't deploy it for various other reasons, organizational reasons. Oh, we're going to switch off that CRM and go to Microsoft 360. So all the training data we've had is going to be invalid as of next month. Why did nobody see that one coming? You never want to be involved in those projects. That's a silly place to be. Something else we've discussed in the group, one of my members said, I reckon we're all rubbish at selling ourselves. And I came back and said, well, the fact that we're in this group talking about this probably means that we're at least self-aware that we're rubbish at selling ourselves. So perhaps we're a bit above the average, but we are pretty poor at this. So it's a practice we're developing is talking about how we sell ourselves internally, rather than just, I've done that amazing thing and I've achieved it and that's great and I've got this new thing I must get on with immediately. Instead, stopping and saying, right, actually, How do I sell that internally? How do I win some more political favor? How do I open up conversations? How do I use this to leverage my team's development, make things look pretty cool, make other people want to come and work with our organization to grow up our opportunity? And just getting used to the idea that sales is not a dirty word. We can do it internally. We can develop our team, not just our own career, but our teams as well, but also our own career, because that's important for us to develop. Gen AI, it's lovely, we all love it, we all kind of hate it. Beware the variance in all of the Gen AI responses. I mean, I feel slightly weird going at the end of the day because this was covered by Leanne earlier and then covered by Emily, and Adam mentioned a bunch of this, and I feel like I'm summarizing some of the key messages of the day. But these are important messages. There is a lot of variance in there. In one of my projects, a client had decided that the only way to win investment and sales was to put Gen AI everywhere. So just shove it in the JavaScript, in the back end, everywhere, put it everywhere. Tell everyone that there's 30 AI-enabled features. There was no way to evaluate it. And clients hated it, it turns out. They started rejecting things on the other side, but there was no isolated test set. There was no way to check it worked as expected, let alone was it maintainable and could it be updated and upgraded in the future. They just slammed in too many random things, like shoving the blockchain in all over the place. It just didn't make any sense. With another client, there were some difficult questions in a data extraction task. And so there the decision was made to put in some LLMs where those the difficult decision points were to avoid the human having to figure that thing out. And surely the AI will get better at this, and so this thing will naturally improve. And the fact that there's high variance and the users don't really trust it, when we process the same document 3 times, we get 3 different answers, that'll improve over time. And then I had to go in and say, no, this is crazy. Let's just take this out. There are better ways of doing this, some Levenstein, some fuzzy text matching, and some other bits. There are other places where LLMs can make good sense, and we'll isolate them and test them, but don't just jam them into that product. And here I used Gemini to generate an image, and it's Gen AI is helping a developer who's naturally male, due to the bias, I'm sure the implicit bias here, coming through, and then there's that text box, and I expanded it, and it's suggestions. And so we know that the image models aren't great at writing text. They're great at fonts, and they're great at all, like early LLM days. They're nearly good at writing the whole word, but they still make mistakes there. But then at the bottom screenshot, that was last week using GPT-4o in my visual code, and I was typing away, and I just typed in print median token, and it gave me the formula for the average. And that was last week. There's so much silliness that comes out of these models still, separate to all the good stuff that comes out of them, and it's so easy to fly past it. So that message that we see all the time, if you read Hacker News, use boring old tech, use Postgres, use queues, don't use fancy big distributed things or whatever until you need to, but just use the boring stuff that works. I'm a massive believer in that. I have clients saying, Ian, we could deep learn and Gen AI and whatever, and I say, yeah, but a bit of scikit-learn. In the fraud talk earlier on, where Radian was talking about the use of TF-IDF for learning features and how it was difficult to outperform TF-IDF. Yeah, sure, it works. TF-IDF on a bag of words or a bag of engrams does a really good job, and it's diagnosable. Why would we use something supremely difficult to debug and support that might get turned off, when instead you can just use the thing where you can do the math on the blackboard in front of you and life is easy? And it might sound like, therefore I hate Gen AI and all the rest of it, but I ran a hackathon just a couple of days ago, a deep dive with a bunch of colleagues, asking ourselves, how do we push, yes, thank you, Sam, you were there, asking ourselves, how do we solve a complex Kaggle task, which shouldn't be solvable with LLMs? How could we do it with LLMs? And then dig into how they work. Because I want to find the edge, the bit that we can't do today, but maybe we can do tomorrow, so that I can guide my clients and just say, no, that is rubbish right now, but in 6 months maybe, or in a year's time. But today, don't do it. It's not a good product idea. But you've got to know where the edge is for that if you're going to dive into that. Easing overload, another bit of implicit bias there. I think it's the lady who is overloaded, not the man. So I didn't put any gender bias into the prompts when I asked for this. I just find it curious about the way some of these images come out. A recurring discussion in my leadership group is around overload. About a third of us subscribe to the phrase overload. I've had a bonkers 6 months with far too many things outside of work and inside of work and family and child and just all the rest of it, along with the wider company demands. Good grief, Gen AI is amazing. You must put Gen AI in everywhere because the clients want it. They don't know what they want. They don't know why they need it, but they want it and need it, and so we need it. And so you get all of these different things coming in. And it's led me to step back and start a discussion there with my colleagues saying, right, what does overload mean to us? And we've got at least 5 definitions of overload, because it means different things to different peoples, given different life stages, different organizational stages. And by identifying the overload, and I want to set up a working group to deal with overload, but the last thing you want to do with overloaded people is give them more work to do. So we're setting up a lightweight discussion where we can talk about what overload means, and then maybe some kind of accountability sessions around that to figure out how we could unload some of us in some different ways and then work it through and support each other. One of the ways to deal with that is to signal value and progress and set your expectations. So tell the organization, this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, this is out of my remit, and I refuse to do it. And I've had a couple of those. No, you told me it's incredibly important. You've actually put an objective on me for the next 6 months and I'm rejecting it. I'm just not going to do it. This is not my thing. We can have a conversation about it, but don't you load your things on me and just tell me I'm going to do it. I've done this long enough now. I don't mind saying no, and you should be comfortable saying no, because otherwise we start struggling under overload. Actually, a good question. Hands up in the room. Do you self-identify with the word overload? I won't ask you why. I'm just curious. I mean, I do. Oh, no, only a third. The rest of you are having a balanced time. Well, okay, well done you. You're in a more stable place, whatever, in your life than certainly I am. There'll be space on one of the tables tomorrow to talk about that in the session before lunch. One of my members shared this book, The Resilience Shield. It's got a couple of core messages which are on the next slide. And I thought that was quite nice. I haven't had time to read it yet because I'm overloaded. And he only told me a few weeks ago, but he tells me it's the best book that he's found to think about making life survivable when things get difficult. And if you've got a young child, if you've been through that, you know that life can get very tricky at times. One of the messages in the book is have a resilient group of colleagues, so maybe outside your organization, that you can turn to. So one-on-ones with non-competitive colleagues, so people you haven't got to impress. People where you can say, I don't know what the answer is, help me out here. So you can have a conversation, and that's where these green badges will come in for you very shortly. So building resilience is a key skill. It's something that I've gotten much better at once I realized I thought I was good at stuff. Just because I was good at some bits of the math didn't mean I was good at a lot of other things in life in general, including not grinding my teeth and getting stressed and running around like a crazy person, and just learning to kick back a bit and let go and chill out and say no every now and again. So some of the messages from that book, sleep, eat, be fit. These things are all really obvious and they're really easy when you're in a good space in your life, but when you're under overload and everything's going crazy, having time to go jogging and swimming and taking time out to have a nice easy time is very difficult. But you have to design your life such that these things are okay, otherwise they're not okay. And having that network of diverse non-work colleagues, so people across a range of different organizational types or system types, whatever it is, whatever process you're involved in, where you can go and talk to them and get advice and talk things through. Be reminded it's okay. You're having a really crap week, but that's totally understandable. It's okay. This too shall pass. And then it's a nice thing to hear every now and again. And maybe it's somebody in the room, it's someone you could have that one-on-one with. And we're going to have time, because I've designed this to be a shorter talk, because it's going to be the end of the day. I wasn't going to keep all of your attention for all that amount of time. There are going to be drinks in 15 minutes. So we'll do a little exercise in just a minute, and then there'll be drinks, and then you can get your energy back. On a positive note here, in my organization, I will be hiring. I don't have the definition yet for the job, but I will have it in the next week or so. I'll be looking for someone who's a 50-50 software eng, happy to do quick deployments and some data science, certainly understanding of the data science process around LLMs and Gen AI and that kind of area. And kind of 5 years experience. It's not an entry-level role. I need someone who can run fast with me on certain things. I'm kind of looking for 5 years experience. If that's interesting, hit me up on LinkedIn or later on, and we'll stay connected. And I can let you know when I've got that role defined. So in conclusion, your first 90 days really matter on a new role, or when you've been promoted. There's a whole bunch of things that you could do that you may not have realized. And if you've got some other colleagues you can turn to and say, what should I be doing to impress? Then, having a cheat sheet. One of my members walked away with a cheat sheet, went into a new role. At the same time, another more senior colleague left the organization. So our colleague in the group started this new role. The directors were so impressed, they said, do you want to be a director now? And so it was just outlining that hypothesis set of things to work through, gave them the onboarding guide, which did not involve delivering code quickly, but reorganizing, making relationships, showing people that they could deliver things quickly in those early weeks. Suddenly they got elevated. Develop the team if you need to develop the team, but maybe you don't need to develop. You do need to develop the team. You may not need to grow the team. Maybe you can keep the team the same size, keep that organizational complexity capable and capped around you. But you can offload work, share it to other people in the organization who are better at that kind of thing, whatever that might be. Pick your valuable projects. Don't take on the stinkers, even if they sound really cool, because the stinkers end up being a millstone around your neck, and no one likes people who are attached to a bunch of failed projects. And so it's kind of fun to then stand up on stage and talk about all the failures in your career, because it's nice to get to that point where you realize I've got a set of successes and failures. It's okay to talk about these things, but really you just want to stack your career full of successes. So try to think about the value in the project and why it will actually achieve change, positive change in your organization. Be sensible with your use of Gen AI. You've heard lots of warnings today. There's lots of opportunity probably out there. There's lots of ways it can go wrong. Don't run headfirst into it, because maybe there's a car crash there. Be sane. Treat it like a sensible machine learning project, lots of evaluations, gold standards, tests around it, and then you'll probably be in a good place. And if overload is a thing, talk about it at the workshop tomorrow. There'll be an overload table. So the workshop session tomorrow, 11:45, so before lunch, downstairs in the library. When you came in and you went up the steps, if you look to your left instead behind the steps, you'd see a big cafe area. Beyond that is the library, and that's where the unconference track is running. So that's where I'll be holding that. Tomorrow afternoon, 2:45, Upson's debugging leadership talk. I've got a newsletter, not a number.email, which I've barely touched in the last 6 months because I've been overloaded, but things are calming down now, and I intend to start writing more about this. And I'm happy to give any advice or be an ear to listen to, a shoulder to cry on if you want to talk about these topics. Right, here is your exercise. Meet your neighbor. So maybe someone in this room is someone you could have a one-on-one private conversation with, or maybe they're just an interesting person to chat with in the pub later on. Here's what you need to do. You need to turn around to find someone you don't already know. That'll be the ideal, and I'm going to give you, how many minutes do we have until we should finish? 10, right. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes for this, then a couple of minutes of questions, and then we can go out and get a beer and chill out. So look around you, find someone you don't already know. Your opening question is, what's your interest in leadership? If you're the first to ask that, they have to be creative in their response, so be quick in asking that question, then have an equal flow of information. I'll give you 5 minutes, and then I'll clap you to be quiet again, and we'll just do a couple of questions. Right, turn to a neighbor and ask them that question. Turn this off. Is it? Oh, I see, right. That's all right. Please do. In fact, if I give you several, you could distribute. Does anyone need a sticker?
A second one here.
There we go, please. Stickers, stickers. You got one? Stickers. Stickers. You got stickers? You got stickers? You want stickers? Oh, you got stickers? Nice. Stickers? You got stickers? Nice. You have stickers? You got stickers? Harry, you got a sticker?
Yeah.
You need a sticker, please.
Thank you.
Lovely. Can I offer you a sticker? You got stickers? Nice. Good job. Stickers? You got them? Lovely. Stickers.
I don't know why I deserve the mantle of the green sticker again. You're too kind.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, how are you doing? You good?
I'm okay, how are you?
I'm good.
I've had more sleep lately.
I've had more sleep. I've not had great sleep. I'm probably still on mic as well for the video. I don't know if this is still transmitting.
Hello.
Hello. I'll catch you in a bit. Can I offer you stickers? Have you got stickers? You good? Stickers? All good?
I got it already.
You got it?
Thank you.
Stickers? All good? So that probably wasn't 5 minutes, but it's probably long enough because there's beer outside. So let's just do 2 or 3 minutes worth of questions and then we can wrap it. Do we have any questions? Or do we just need beer? There is a question.
I was wondering, like, one particular example I always struggle with is to actually do what you said, and basically give the low value projects away. So let's say you have built something, a framework, a project, whatever, it's running fine, but your team has been running it for the first 2 months or so because you needed to make sure it actually works fine. How do you get rid of it? Without basically insulting those people that you give it to and saying, hey, your work is less valuable than mine, so therefore you do this now.
Yeah, I think there's a way of phrasing that, right? It's not that it's less valuable. There's a very valuable project that you could co-own. And so I've got a project where it's been a bit of an up and down journey, getting it to the point of being stable and good. Now it's solid. It's really, really good. And so I've turned to my engineering team and one of the project managers and one of the testers and said, look, there will be issues. Each time we sign up a new client, there'll be new variants in the system, but I don't need to own that. I'm very happy to collaborate when we get to that point. But in the meantime, do you want to own the project that's processing all of our core documents and providing the core value to the organization? They're like, well, yeah, sure, that sounds like a good idea. So I think there's just a messaging thing. I say just a messaging thing. That worked in that case. I'm sure there are cases where it's not so easy. But I've taken the risk out of this thing and I've demonstrated the thing and it's good and it'll be nice. And I don't want to support the thing. I want to go and solve the next shiny problem. So I've found some people who are happy to go and support the valuable thing, and then together we'll message to the rest of the organization. It's in safe hands. One of the points I've made is that, look, sometimes in this project, I've gone and put on my big boy trousers and I've really tried hard to make sure this thing is tested and developed and documented and reliable, but you shouldn't be giving the data scientists the keys to the kingdom when it comes to keeping the lights on for the business. This is not the role that I want. I need responsible adults, the people over here, to do that. And they love being referred to as the responsible adults. So they've taken on the project and everyone's happy. At least there's a negotiation, there was discussion in the background to make sure everyone was happy. I de-risked it, I had those human conversations. I've been having beer and cake and lunch with the various people before for many months so that we knew where our hopes and aspirations and fears were. And we got, I'm just saying buzzword bingo here, we'd come to alignment on the various ways that we should be thinking about where the company was going with these different projects. And so it was just a conversation and they were happy with it. And at that point it was easy. But I think it's taken me 25 years of mistakes to get to this point to figure out how to make it easy. Another question? Or is it beer time? Oh.
If people want to join your amazing Rebel AI group, how can they do that?
Oh, see, I'm not trying to sell the group here. I'm just trying to get the lessons out of it. If you're interested in the sound of that thing, I'm very happy to talk about it offline. And the session will run tomorrow. The workshop thing is a thing that we do in the group as well. And then some of the members are here in the audience and they'll be there. So you can talk to them about it. I don't want to do a hard sell on that at all. I just love the fact that I've got a stable way of addressing the concerns that I've had in my leadership journey, and I'm keen to share some of the lessons that came out of that because they're not talked about. We don't have any books telling us how to do this in data science, and that's why I organise these leadership sessions. So please come along to the workshop tomorrow morning and then we'll just carry on with that discussion. You'll be wearing a green badge perhaps, and then tomorrow's special badge, and then you'll be very, very clearly keen in this whole area, and then hopefully you'll find new colleagues and contacts, and then you'll be able to get the other questions that you've got answered. Right, let's wrap it up there and get some beer. Thank you very much for your attention.